Spooky season is upon us. Time to dress up in costumes and go around houses asking for candy bars, hoping that they're king-sized. But has it ever crossed your mind as to why when we hear the word Halloween, we think about costumes and candy? Well, if it has, then you're in the right place. Because today in history, let's deep dive into the origins of Halloween so that you can know why it is that many people dress up and trick-or-treat on the night of October the 31st. To know the origins of Halloween, we need to go back 2,500 years to the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain. The festival of Samhain took place on October the 31st and marked the end of summer and harvest and marked the beginning of the dark, cold winter. This time of year often meant the loss of many lives due to such harsh conditions, and in the night starting the new year, the Celts believed the ghosts of the lost returned to Earth.
But the one thing I'm not, the one thing I'm not, I say the one thing I'm not is a scaredy.
The Celts believed that their return would make it easier for their priests to predict future outcomes, which comforted them during harsh times while giving them something to look forward to. So in order to bring in the good vibes, you could say, the Celts built huge bonfires and dressed in costumes consisting of animal heads and skins. Now, the Celts would eventually be overtaken by the Romans, which saw the introduction of numerous other customs. This included the festival of Ferialia, All Saints' Day, and All Souls' Day. But to truly see the baby steps of Halloween to what we know today, we need to flash forward to when the holiday Halloween was introduced into now, modern-day USA. The United States started celebrating what we know as Halloween in the 1840s, when American settlers brought it to the States from Europe. This was responsible to the immigration of numerous English Puritans and Irish who were fleeing from the potato famine, as each of these groups had beliefs with Celtic tradition. So now that we know how Halloween was brought to the USA, how exactly did we start dressing up and asking for candy? Trick-or-treating can be seen all the way back to 1000 AD, where during the time of All Souls' Day, the poor would often visit the wealthy where they would receive pastries called soul cakes, in exchange for the promise that they would pray for the family's dead relatives. This was known as souling, and would later be a practice taken up by mostly children.
Hello, boys! Trick or treat!
Where the trick part originated was primarily in Scotland and Ireland, where kids took part in a practice called geezing. This basically meant instead of praying, they would sing, joke, recite a poem, or perform any other type of trick in exchange for a treat.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see you. Let's go, bud.
With these practices, children would often disguise themselves as ghosts and spirits. So, dressing up has always been a custom of Halloween since the early days. But how exactly did wearing costumes become so mainstream? With early trick-or-treating customs, it came with many problems, such as broken fences and smashed windows. Because of this, American officials made a push to change the holiday from Halloween to Conservation Day in 1942 to attempt to stop criminal damage. However, Halloween never did stop, but it did take its largest turning point after World War II, as more Americans saw the introduction of the television into their homes, which brought in pop culture. With this, Halloween costumes went from ghosts and spirits to superheroes and entertainment figures, which put a large dent in damage activity.
Here with a report on how to stretch your Halloween dollar is Weekend Update correspondent Adam Sandler.
We have to remember, we're living in a recession and money is tight. So don't go bugging your parents for these new overpriced costumes.
Movies like Star Wars, Indiana Jones, and Superman
Bad vibrations?
truly led the shift of the way Halloween is perceived. But that doesn't mean that scary costumes stopped, as movies like Halloween and Nightmare on Elm Street filled that void and allowed adults to participate in dressing up as well.
The truth of the matter is that pop culture is one of the main factors as to why we celebrate Halloween the way we do today. And it is also the main reason as to why I'm dressed as Mario. But that doesn't mean that pop culture changed everything about Halloween.
When we walk down the street and see the ornaments of neighbors, it's important to know that these symbols have been around since the early days of Halloween. Ghosts and spirits can be detected in the days of the Celts, and pumpkins can be detected back with the Irish, as they were carved into jack-o'-lanterns in order to scare the evil spirits that they believed were passing through the farms in the time of famine away. This belief was later brought to America and stuck as a symbol still recognized today.
This year I decided to really get into the spirit of Halloween. It may have been the costliest decision I've ever made.
So now that you know the history behind Halloween, go and collect as much candy as you can. But please, follow the rule.